break the news now. Who won and why?
Yeah, wow, this is a big exclusive the play-by-play is getting. Big scoop. I'm giving the edge to YouTube TV in this one, and I think there's a couple reasons for that. I think there's three kind of fronts that this dispute was fought over. The major one was pricing, and when it comes to pricing, we never really get exact details on who's giving what concessions there. But the other two, bundling and ingestion, I think both give the edge to YouTube. And here's why. On the bundling front, this is pretty standard now. Like Disney has given the ability for other distributors to place its networks into genre-specific packages. So essentially, if you're a sports fan and you want to get just sports channels, in the future, YouTube TV can presumably offer you that at a more affordable price than the full bundle. That's a win for YouTube TV because they're not bloating their bundles with channels that no one watches, like Freeform or National Geographic. So they're essentially making a more affordable package for consumers, could presumably attract more subscribers that way. So win for YouTube. And Disney obviously loses out on some marginal revenue they would get from those lesser watched channels. Front two, which is the ingestion front, I think is kind of the bigger deal here. And Disney actually did better than some of its peers on this front. You'll recall a couple months ago when NBC and YouTube TV were negotiating, this was the big sticking point. And NBC actually created or resurrected, I guess you could say, a new cable network, NBC Sports Network, to carry Peacock exclusive games on YouTube TV. And additionally, another thing NBC gave up in this negotiation was they included Peacock in YouTube primetime channels. So that essentially means for an extra fee, YouTube TV subscribers can go in, buy Peacock, and then access Peacock content within the app. Disney did not give that up in their negotiation. So for Disney Plus and Hulu, it will not be available in those YouTube primetime channels. There will allegedly be bundles that include YouTube TV, Disney Plus, and Hulu, but you will not be able to access that content directly within the YouTube TV app. You'll actually still have to launch the Disney Plus or the Hulu app to access that content, which is a big win for Disney. That means you're getting more time spent on platform from those subscribers. You're able to, sell more ads to those subscribers. You're able to collect those subscribers as data. So that's a big win, but YouTube still was able to capture the ingestion of live sports, which is for them the most important. I think the vast majority of their subscriber base is subscribed because of live sports. So all of ESPN Unlimited, all of ESPN's content that you would be able to find within the app or within any sort of pay TV package that includes ESPN will be natively on YouTube TV. So that means the WWE premium live events. That means any sort of ESPN Plus content that might not be thrown on a linear network will still be available within the YouTube TV app. And I think that's a huge win for both consumers and YouTube TV as we're moving forward in this kind of fight for, online video supremacy, where, live sports is a large part of that. And YouTube TV is now keeping pretty much all of that within its platform. You won't have to go to another app to access that. So I give YouTube TV with a slight win on the ingestion front as well.
You going to debate him, Ben? What do we think here?
No, I agree. I think it's tough. Drew and I were talking offline, and he touches on this in his column. I know, it's tough to know the true winner without knowing all the financial details, which is what a lot of this comes down to. My inclination, though, even without knowing the financial details, even without the ingestion and the bundling options, is that YouTube won this just from a PR standpoint. And the fact that they did win this from a PR standpoint makes it a victory in and of itself. Like, whenever these disputes happen, as a customer, my inclination is to blame the distributor, is to blame whoever I am paying my money to that is not giving me what they promised. I'm like, just get it. I'm giving you money. You gave me a promise that I'm going to have ESPN available to me. Do whatever it takes to get ESPN available to me. And the fact that the PR battle on this one was so lopsided toward YouTube TV that you had, I mean, anecdotally, I have friends who are diehard football fans who their weekends and their schedules revolve around watching football. They went 2 full weekends without access to ESPN. They were willing to go a third. Like, I don't know where it would have stopped. Like, it did not seem like YouTube TV, which is maybe the easiest to cancel distributor there is. It did not seem like they lost a significant amount of subscribers while not offering their, one of the key offerings in all of cable television. So I think just the fact that they were able to go toe to toe with ESPN and win this from a PR standpoint, I think that's like the biggest win in all of this, beyond everything else they got out of this. I do think the ingestion and all of that is very fascinating. I'd love to get into that.
Me too. I think the financial side, to me, it's like a lot of what YouTube seemed to want was with the understanding of what the future is likely to look like, which is that they will be the biggest service. And that's probably true, almost assuredly true. And so I almost, of course, if Disney could got them to come down a little bit or whatever, then that in the negotiation we're covering right now would count as a victory for Disney. But long term, YouTube's going to get everything that they were asking for. It's just a matter of time. And so from that standpoint, like, I have a hard time even giving a tick mark in either column, because YouTube's right that they're going to be the deciding force in the future of all of this stuff, and the way that the finances work for it for Disney and every other content company in the future, which I think does kind of bring us to the ingestion side of this, because that's a big part of why. And, YouTube is basically neck and neck with, I would say, Prime Video, probably, as far as striving to be the home for all video content. Now, those businesses are different enough where even saying that is a little tough. But the reason I compare those two is because they both are ahead of the curve, being this place where these channels exist and this in-service content from other companies can be watched and accessed, right? And they did it with Peacock, as Drew mentioned. Now they're doing it with the ESPN app, which I guess we're now calling ESPN Unlimited all over again. I thought we got away from having it have its own name, but now it does again. I don't know. Either way, on Prime Video, you can watch everything from, HBO Max to League Pass from a portal housed on Prime Video, right? NBA League Pass. Now, on YouTube, they're building up something similar where they can give you direct access to WWE pay-per-views and Sunday Night Football, right? And, I think that is the future. I guess I'm just curious what you guys think, because that seems like the business future. And if I worked at one of those two companies, that's how I would be pitching it, because customers do want consolidation and ease of access and an interface that isn't, irritating. YouTube has user-generated content. Amazon has rentable movies. Like, there are differences. So, we'll see how that all sorts out. But my question is, like, do you know anybody who uses those things? Is that actually with the future of where this is going? Like, have you ever met somebody who goes, "No, I don't have Peacock. I use it on YouTube." I've never heard of that. I know that agreement only got struck 3 weeks ago, but or whatever, fill in the blank. I just don't know if that's actually where the customers are saying the future is with their actions, at least in the people that I talk to in my life and kind of the business coverage that I see out there. What do you think, Drew?
Yeah, anecdotally, I think you're right. I was actually thinking this exact same thing. I'm like, I can't think of a single person I know that buys these streaming services directly through one of those portals. Like, most Peacock subscribers are still subscribing directly to Peacock, or Disney Plus onto Disney Plus, whatever. But I do think, I wouldn't have the numbers off the top of my head. And Amazon Prime channels has been like a pretty successful business for Amazon. So there are people that are doing this. I think it's more of just a consumer education problem, right? Like, I think if consumers knew that they could have like a more seamless experience by doing this, they would in fact purchase those subscriptions through Amazon Prime channels or through YouTube Primetime channels, because it is just like a better user experience. But I just don't think the awareness is there.
Yeah. And I mean, it's also, offered on a pretty limited basis, all things considered at this point. I think the need is definitely there. I think anecdotally, which it seems like we're doing a lot here, but that's how a lot of these things go. I find myself watching less WWE Monday Night Raw now that it's on Netflix, or difficult process for me to get to it. I'm typically channel surfing. When I used to watch Raw, I'd be channel surfing from Monday Night Football to Raw. Now that I have to exit my Spectrum app, go into Netflix, watch a couple of, it's a tougher ask of me. So I think there is a need for it. It's just figuring out how do we get there and what does it look like? I think it's interesting too that this has been one of the key hangups in the last couple of these disputes. It seems like this is something both the providers and it seems like something that the entire industry knows is an issue and that they want to get solved.
Well, here's the problem. So you look at Disney, right? Separate from this YouTube, they are also trying a version of this, right? Where Disney Plus is increasingly becoming this home for all things Disney, whether that's, again, Monday Night Football, or it's, Abbott Elementary, or whatever you might be wanting to watch, ABC Nightly News. Like, they want it all to be there. But one, that's not nearly enough stuff. You're never going to convince somebody to only ever spend time on Disney Plus, right? So I just don't think that that's going to get the job done for the average person. But the other difference here is and why this YouTube one was so fascinating is, to me, back when cable was the place you went to watch stuff, it was understood that company, who you might, want to go, scream at the secretary for, but they were just for that. They just were the thing that gave a signal to your home to watch the content you wanted to watch, and they gave you a box and a remote, and that was that. Now YouTube is both, right? Amazon's trying to be both. YouTube is a place where you go watch your favorite vlogger, but also your cable company, and also this place that had an NFL game last month. Amazon, same thing. It's Thursday Night Football, it's renting movies, and it wants to be the place where you also go to. And so I just don't, I think that there is a little bit of average person resistance to that also, because it's hold on, I'm paying you how much, and now I got to do more, and I got you are just my overlord now. I don't know. Maybe that is a little bit of a step too far in terms of trying to kind of mind read the average person and this anecdotal way of talking about this. But it's clearly the source of friction between these companies, because it's one thing if Disney just has to say, here's how much you're going to pay us to put ESPN on those boxes that you give to people. It's a different thing when it's you want to have our service within yours, but you're also our competitor on some types of content. I don't think that these companies are going to play nice with each other to deliver that future to us, even if the average person's education that we're kind of talking about eventually comes around. I don't see that happening. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah. I think where this gets really interesting is kind of when you look at the market for live sports rights. And I know right now we're kind of in a bit of a lull where there's not a lot available, but eventually, the NFL is going to come up. The NBA is going to come back up in 10 or 11 years, Major League Baseball in 3 years, as with NHL. So there are deals around the pike, right? And I think if you're looking from a Disney perspective, right? Obviously these rights are existential to your business. So you're going to be willing to pay more than a YouTube TV would or an Amazon would, because without these sports rights, you you essentially do not have the leverage to demand, such high fees from the distributors, right? So long as Disney and Fox and NBC can afford to pay these exorbitant live rights fees, the cost of doing business for the distributors, which includes YouTube TV, are going up, right? Like, I don't think YouTube TV is going to go and bid on top of Disney just because, like they want to own the content. Like, I still think it's probably a better deal for YouTube TV to get license the content essentially from Disney for its service. It's just kind of a matter of how long can these companies afford to continue to pay more, because in the interim, the price of YouTube TV, the price of your Xfinity bundle, the price of Charter, whatever, it's all just going to go up, right? So YouTube is playing the long game, like you said, Brendon, and like that's kind of where these deals are going. The game for Disney is kicking the can down the road as long as possible. At least the way I see it. They want to get as much of the consumer data as they can, keep their pure play streamer as Disney Plus or Hulu independent from YouTube TV for as long as possible, because then you're able to drive more revenue and then purchase more expensive sports rights and kind of keep the cycle going, right? But I don't think there's a future in which Disney is going to be able to compete with the financial might of Google, right? Like, that's just not in the cards. So it's kind of a shitty time for consumers, because it means, until these companies, end up consolidating or folding or, something extreme happens, prices are just going to go up.
Yeah, because, Disney as a content, producer in the previous generation, it was lucrative enough to put movies in movie theaters and put content on cable to sustain an entire business. It's not anymore. And so here we are where we're trying to kind of find what's next. And yeah, I think that the places that house the content right now seem to be what is going to be the king of the playground for this next era. And Disney doesn't appear to be one of those. So yeah, they're kind of caught right now. Any final words before we let Drew go, Ben?
Do we expect prices to go up at all for YouTube TV? Because that's been a big thing, is how, they seem to have a price increase every other month at this point.
I would be very surprised if it didn't happen. I guess the timeline is uncertain, but I would say within
they should
the
probably
next
do
year,
it now, right? And then just blame Disney directly.
That's
they screwed us over, so now we have to charge you more. Sorry.
That wouldn't actually be too bad from a PR perspective. But yeah, I would say within the next year, I'd expect some sort of price increase.
Wild.